I shouldn't need my glasses on. Shouldn't need my glasses on. The ugly cat, that was just a picture I found searching for ugly cats and seeing how Minnie usually puts in an appearance. You can just see her top of her head right there. Seeing how she usually puts in an appearance, I figured an ugly cat would work good for the thumbnail. I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to give away a pan, but it's not an ugly hammered, but it is an ugly pan. So it definitely qualifies for that. And like I said, show you a couple of things. One real cool thing I got, you can see it sitting there, and I'll explain that in a little bit. We'll say hi to everybody quick here. Once I show you the pan, you might regret entering the words ugly pan to enter the drawing. At the end of the show, we'll do the comment picker thing and have it pick somebody, and we'll do the keyword search for ugly pan. So if you want to enter, just put in ugly pan in a comment, and it should get your name in the drawing. Ronald Coward's here. Even the ugly ones need love. Yes, they do. R.T. Scott is here. Let's see here. Maybe I shouldn't have taken my glasses off. Get my mic a little closer. Cynthia's here. Jim's here. He's saying hi to everybody. Raymond. R.T. Scott, I said hi to. Dan's here. There's me. Marvel Oz, good to see you. Owl's here. William Hurt. Let's see. Bell's Black Cat's Rules. Billy Lee is here. Bell's Black Cat's Ruled. Mouth isn't working quite right yet. Ugly pan, but showing a kitty. Well, yeah, like I said, seeing as all Minnie usually works away in here, a cat seemed appropriate for the thumbnail. Who else we got here? Let's see, William Hurt, I think I said hi to, and Dan. Found your morning picture. Minnie's head's no longer there. She'll be on my shoulder in a minute. Probably. Where'd she go? I can't quite see her. Let's see. But other than that, also some nice things going on here in Mudbrook. My swans are back. I've been seeing swans the last few years, but they haven't been showing up until fairly late in the spring. I usually start seeing them about May. The ice isn't off yet, but it is starting to pull back away from the edges of the lake a bit, so there's a little open water around the edges. And this is the time of year the geese usually start coming in. And I've seen a few geese here too. But if I'm not really sure exactly about how swans nest and what their real season is, but usually the geese come in about this time of year, mid-March, early April, in there somewhere once the ice starts pulling away from the edges a bit. And they'll start nesting once the ice is more or less off the lake. And if swans are anything like that, that means the swans are in early enough this year that they could actually nest here, which I'm really hoping they do, because it'd be cool to have baby swans out there swimming around in the lake. And the lake out front is actually called Swan Lake. If you look on the old abstract title, which kind of gives the history of a piece of land. I mean, most people don't really deal with those anymore. But way back when, it was called Swan Lake. I mean, this house, or at least the living room, has been here since the 1890s or so. And there used to be swans in the lake, hence the name. But there hadn't been swans in there, for since the 20s, probably 20s or 30s, probably 100 years. But the last couple of years, they started coming back. Politely declining to enter any giveaway. Yeah, that's why I put the put the little key phrase in there so you can decide whether you want to enter or not. Once you see it, you might not want to have anything to do with it. Let me get caught back up on the comments here, and we'll see. Everybody putting in ugly pan. Scaldwell is here, a little bit late, but always good to see him. Is this a fuzzy pan? But anyway, I'll show you this pan here quick. I was going to start off with something else. I showed you this before right after I got it stripped. I got this cheap. I don't remember if it came with a lot, with a couple, 3 other pans I was interested in, or if I was, figured, well, for what I was going to pay for. I think I only paid like $20 for it, 15, $20 in there. It wasn't a whole lot. Figured it was worth taking a chance on, and it turned out to be a heat-ringed Wagner ware, and it's nickel-plated, or at least it used to be nickel-plated. On one side, you can see there's a big patch of the plating gone. That had been left over a burner on a stove, and you can see where it was had been heated pretty good and burned what was left of the nickel plating off. Now the plating looks a little brownish, a little rusty, but it's really not. That's because I seasoned the entire outside of the pan because the plating's pretty thin and I didn't want it to rust. Normally, if something is nickel plated, I don't season the nickel plating part. I just season the inside on the cooking surface because the plating is usually gone off of there anyway. But the seasoning will kind of turn brown on the plated part, and kind of defeats the purpose of having nice nickel plating, but this doesn't have nice nickel plating. As you can see, it ain't in the greatest of appearance, but it's a good sound pan, and this is the part that'll get Cynthia all worked up. It's a number 9. So, you can see there, 1059. So, if you're interested in this pan, it's a little bit rough on the inside surface. I wouldn't say it's rough, but it's got some real fine pitting that'll fill right in with a little bit of use. So it's a nice pan for what it is, for what I paid for it. It's definitely usable. It's not the most beautiful thing you're going to have hanging on your wall, but you'll be happy with cooking with that because it's a hell of a nice little pan. But like I say, it ain't the prettiest thing, so we'll let some lucky person have a chance at it. And I just saw, yeah, there it is. Huey sent $5. Thank you very much, Huey. Got to keep up the good habit. Those I season over totally if the plating is bad. Yeah, that's why I did it. Like I say, if the plating was good, I wouldn't put any seasoning on that. But it's really getting pretty thin. The iron is showing through in a lot of places. So, as you use it, it should just darken up and blacken pretty much even out anyway. But I usually just do the inside of the pan and sometimes the bottom. If the bottom looks like that, if it's got a big bare spot, I'll season out the bottom just to season any parts of it that are bare iron. Yeah, as long as it cooks. Yeah, it should cook just as good as any other pan you're going to come across. 9 is mine. But yeah, put ugly pan in a comment somewhere along the line, and it'll pick out all the comments that say that. 9 is a good size. Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned it a million times. I got a lot of 9s for some reason. I wasn't really looking to get number 9s specifically, but it seems I just kind of wandered into them quite often. And I do like 9s. I mean, they're not huge. They're not a whole lot bigger than 8s, but they are bigger enough that you can, they work nice. You can do a couple, 3 pork chops in there without really overcrowding them quite as bad as you would with a number 8. Cooking surface looked in great shape. It looks really good, and it's got just a little, it's not what I would call rough, but it's got a little bit of a texture to it. But that shouldn't hurt anything, and as I use it a little bit, it will most of that will fill right in. I mean, it was filled in before I stripped it and ran it through the electrolysis, so it really shouldn't be a problem. Find a lot of number 9s in Texas over in Louisiana. They're smaller. 9s and 10s are my go-tos most of the times. Yeah, like I said, I do like the 9. It's a really good size. And 10 is really about as big as you can go on your average, your average stove nowadays, either with the an electric coil or a gas burner. You start getting much bigger than 10. They're a little too big for the burner, and you end up with a hot spot in the middle and cooler around the edges. It's okay if you bring the pan heated up slow, but if you crank it up too high too fast, having a hot spot in the middle while the rest of the pan is cold is how you warp pans. You can either warp them or sometimes you can even make them crack if they have a weak spot in the casting. So, but number 9s, number 8s are usually, just the right size for your big size burner. Farm Boys here. Most of your pans are either an 8 or 10. 9s and not many 7s. Yeah, 7s, are a little bit of an odd size. They're a little less common. They're not, generally speaking, I'm sure there are specific ones that are really scarce, but usually, usually they're not all that rare, but they are a little more uncommon. Back up here. Just finished an old 3-notch 9, bottom sulfur pitted, but the cooking surface is butter. If you pay the shipping, it's yours. Use them on a grill or a cast iron stove. Yeah, the on a cook stove like mine, that's where the really big pans really come into their own, because the whole bottom of it gets heated up evenly. Bob the Builder, ugly pan if you want Cynthia. If you win, you want Cynthia to have it. Well, we'll keep that in mind. Remind me if you come up if you win the drawing. Using a diffuser helps spread the heat on bigger pans. Yeah, I mean there's ways around it. And big pans, you can preheat them in the oven. Put them in the oven at 350 and let them heat up in the oven, and then they're heated all the way through and evenly, and then put them on the stove and start cooking with them. That works really good. Got an itch under my nose. Anyway, this other thing that I wanted to show you is really cool. A couple of weeks ago, I was getting low on dehydrated mushrooms because I use them in soups and stuff like that, and they're fantastic. I mean, it kind of concentrates the mushroom flavor. If you're going to make a soup or a stew or something, I really recommend using dehydrated mushrooms. And you can't overcook them. I mean, they'll soak up the broth. I throw them in the broth dry and just let them simmer along with anything. You can't really overcook them. They're not going to fall apart. And they soak up a little bit of the broth, and they got a more intense mushroom flavor. If you have a light colored broth like chicken broth, it will darken it. It'll turn the broth brown. But if you have a beef broth, it'll darken it and make it really look good. Crowds holding winning 4 years ago over your head. Well, you had a pretty good streak going there for a while. Just came in and noticed my green stove. Can you show it? I'd like to see it. The last few weeks I've done videos cooking on the stove. You can see it in action. And kind of look around on some of my older streams. You can see it, but it's kind of a pain to drag the camera over there now. I think I'll probably do some cooking on it next week. So if you come by next week, maybe I'll be sure and give a little more of a tour around the stove. It's getting a little dusty and greasy towards this time of year, so I'll have to clean her up good. But yeah, come back next week and I'll, give everybody a little spin around the stove before I do anything else with it. Kimberly's here. Let's see, get caught. I always get behind when I start talking. There we go. Now, anyway, I got some mushrooms here. Really white, you can't see them. They're just the ordinary white button mushrooms you get at the store. And I sliced up some and ran a batch through the dehydrator. And but I still needed some more. I figured there's got to be an easier way of cutting these things rather than sitting there slicing up mushrooms in the with a knife. So I stopped off at Goodwill and I got a really chintzy little egg slicer. It's got the little wires in there and a little stamped steel base. Paid $1 for it, and it was worth about half of that. And just to try it out, and it really worked good slicing them up, but I figured I needed something a little bit heavier. And I came across this thing. You can see it's got the slicer on there. This is actually a butter cutter. What you would do, you take a 1 pound block of butter, set it on there. And you can see there's a slit there, and you'd use either a wire, cheese slicer type of thing or a thin bladed knife. You'd cut it in half, you'd turn it, cut it in half again, so you got 4 quarters, or you could just use 4 sticks of butter. And then you take the slicer part, you put it on there, you press it down, and it makes little individual butter pads. And it makes, let's see if we can get to where you can see that. It makes 52 slices of little butter pads. I don't need butter pads for anything, but it'd be pretty handy for Thanksgiving or something like that if you wanted to make that. Set this back on here. But what I really wanted it for was for slicing up mushrooms, and it works really good for that. You just take this, put your mushroom on there upside down, press it down, pick her up a little bit, and you pull it through. Now the skin on top of the mushroom is a little bit tough. Sometimes it doesn't quite want to slice through there, but it makes, try and get to where you can see the damn things, it makes some pretty nice little mushroom slices. And I could put 2, 3, 4 of them, depending on how big they are, and slice up a bunch of them at a time and really save a lot of time. And you get nice, even thickness slices. Now, this came with another frame. There's no wires on it. And it doesn't sit square. It sits kind of uphill like that on the post on this. I had to straighten that post out a little bit. This is actually plated brass, except for the bottom, that's cast iron and that's enameled. But it must have screwed, the post must have screwed into this bottom piece and stripped out or something, because somebody went and silver soldered it up solid. It was bent a little and I straightened it out. But like I said, this one, it doesn't look bent, but it must be, because it kind of tips up like that. And I was trying to figure a way to wire that up so I could hit every other one and get, a little thicker slices out of it maybe. And I took some fishing line and wrapped it around there and had the pattern kind of figured out. And it worked out, but I can't remember how I did it. And you got to do it so that you wind up on the same side you started, because the 2 screws you attach the wire to and anchor the wire are both on the same side, which complicates things. And I used monofilament fishing line just to figure it out. And, that's a little bit stiff enough that when you let go, it wants to spring around. Tri-piano wire. One of the guys at work had some old guitar strings. And once I get the pattern perfected and see if I can straighten or twist or do something to that so it works. Once I get that figured out, I will use a guitar wire. But yeah, nice slices of mushroom. And usually once you dry the mushrooms out, a pound of mushrooms will make around a more or less fill a quart jar. So I got a big 2-quart, ancient blue 2-quart jar. And I got that filled up. But yeah, this will really work good. And you could do, things like strawberries. If I was going to freeze up strawberries, slice them and sugar them, and a lot of other things, softer kind of fruits, it'll work good. Or making cheese slices, for cheese and crackers. But yeah, that's a butter cutter. And I only paid $15 for it, so I was tickled to death with it. And it's made by this. The name's kind of hard to see because it's in behind. It's got a 1901 patent date on it, and it was made by, they call it the Elgin, manufactured by, all the wording is behind the post, so it's hard to see. It's a little dark in here. September. Made by the Cleveland Faucet Company. So that's who made that. When they weren't making faucets, they were making butter cutters. It's pretty cool. Like I said, I mean, that's a neat little kitchen appliance. And like I said, slicing softer fruits like strawberries, things like that, cheese. I don't think I'll ever use it for cutting butter because I don't use a lot of butter pats. But if you want to have a nice fancy dinner or Thanksgiving, so you got nice little butter pats for your rolls. Love sauteed mushrooms with green peppers and onions too. Well, I like the mushroom part of that. Guitar, yeah, like I said, he's got some brought in some guitar strings. Where did I find it? That was on the Goodwill site. So it was $15, and the shipping wasn't too bad. I think it was only like 14 or $15 for the shipping. So actually, it was like $30 all together. Had some great mushrooms in West Virginia, and then you got lost for a day and didn't mind at all. Use yours for cheese too. Yeah, I mean it would work just right for slicing cheese for cheese and crackers. Watch Bud and find out what your kitchen needs. Yeah, I didn't know. Why is it telling to enter ugly pan? If you put ugly pan in a comment, we're going to give away this ugly pan tonight. That's a number 9 heat ringed Wagner they made those from 1924 to mid to late 30s, mid 30s or so. So this is, at least 90, if not 100 years old. It's a number 9. The inside is pretty decent. A little bit rough, but that'll smooth out as you use it. And as you can see, the plating is kind of ugly. It used to be nickel plated at one time, but it's a good pan. And if you're interested, just put in ugly pan. I used to visit those cow pastures back in the day. Love portobellos. Yeah, I like portobellos too. Shiitakes are okay, but they're not really my favorite. And over at the neighbor's house, and on a couple of the trees in their front yard, they have chicken of the woods, is what it's known. It's a mushroom that grows on the side of trees. And it's really good fried. You usually roll it in flour and fry them up. It tastes fantastic, but you got to eat it while it's still really hot, because as it cools, the texture gets kind of off-putting. They get kind of a slimy texture. What's so ugly about it? The it used to be nickel plated. I mean, you can still see there's some plating on the back and a little on the side, but the plating is mostly gone. You can see it's pretty worn through, and it got burned off on one side there. You can see there's no plating at all by that spout, and it's just a worn old pan, but it's a good pan. It'll work perfectly good. Shouldn't have any problems with it at all. I seasoned it up, just break it into some making some fried potatoes, and you have yourself a hell of a nice pan for using. It won't be as beautiful hanging on the wall as something with nice pristine plating on it, but I got it cheap and figured I'd pass it on and make a little room for myself around here. Kid got ran over by a scooter, might have died. Well, that ain't good. Should try not to run kids over with scooters. There are morels around, never seen them, but there's the signs in wood everywhere. Yeah, I've never really done a lot of mushroom hunting, and I mean, there's tons and tons of different kinds of mushrooms around here, but I'm not going to go picking any to eat because I don't know nearly enough about them to trust it. But yeah, I mean, going out walking through the woods around here, there's just dozens and dozens of different kinds of mushrooms you see growing. I love any kind of mushrooms. Makes Bill cringe when you eat them. Pat Z is in for the ugly pan. Yeah, hopefully the kid's all right. Fried up some chicken in the woods, tasted like fried mushroom. Yeah, like I said, it's tasty, but you got to eat it while it's good and hot. Otherwise, once it turns cold after you fried it, it gets kind of it still tastes good, but it gets kind of an off-putting, mushy, slimy texture to it, which isn't really good. Good camping pan at the very least. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with its usability. Amazing Sugar Shack pan. Got May apples, ash, oak, marshy areas there around. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of there are morels in this part of the world. You see a lot more of them down around La Crosse, down in kind of southwestern Wisconsin, but there are morels in this area too. Yeah, morels are fairly distinct. Yeah, I mean, I'd be fairly safe picking something that was, morels. They're pretty obvious. Just noticed that Minnie's king of the hill in the tower. Yeah, she was up there earlier, and I don't know if she climbed down or hid, but I think she's back up. You can just kind of see the top of her poking over the thing. Your iron skillet might need some cleaning on the outside. A little too much buildup, and you're afraid to use a sander on it. Uh, don't use a sander. I mean, it's actually a lot more work than you would think it would be, and you can damage the pan. I mean, you can end up sanding off lettering and things like that. If you just got the one skillet, go ahead and get yourself a couple of cans of Easy Off yellow heavy duty oven cleaner. Spray it down good and heavy, stick it in a plastic bag, let it sit for 2 or 3 days, and then scrub it off. And that should take most of the buildup off. If there's still buildup on it, spray it down again, let it sit a couple of days, and then scrub it up again, then reseason it. It's a lot easier. All you got to do is spray it and let it sit. I mean, you don't have to monkey around trying to sand it or anything like that. So, yeah, it's definitely it's a much safer way of doing it, and it's a lot easier. I mean, you don't have to stand there sanding and grinding and wire wheeling on the damn thing, and it'll take everything right off. He grew oyster mushrooms without knowing it. Would have eaten them, but it didn't know at the time. Like eating cold deer meat. No, I love cold venison. How do I clean my stove? Uh, Mostly on the outside of that, it's just a little bit of ash dust and a little bit of grease from frying. So I just take a soapy rag and wipe it down, and maybe after I do that, hit it with a little Windex just to clean it up. If I had to really clean and scrub on it, oven cleaner would work on the enamel part. The top of it pretty much burns itself clean while I'm using it, so it doesn't really need cleaning. Shows lots of appreciation for her stand. She loves it. Yeah, she loves, and you can't see it behind my chair, but there's another couple of levels, and there's a little kind of hammock thing that she really likes. But she likes that top part because that thing is really soft. I mean, I don't know how they got it that soft, but they did. Do you have to season the pan after the easy off? Yeah, you do. I mean, you can be careful and just spray the outside, but you're probably bound to get some on the inside and end up stripping that too. So you're better off just spraying the whole thing and cleaning it right down to bare metal again, and then start from scratch and reseason it after that. Will it work on rust too? No, the oven cleaner or a lye bath doesn't take rust off, but it will take off it'll take off any buildup and old seasoning off of it. For rust, you need either a vinegar bath, uh, 50-50 cheap white vinegar and water. Let it soak for 3 or 4 hours, usually more than enough, and then scrub it off. If it's still got some rust on it, do it again, and then re-season it. Yeah, after you use the easy off, you'll have to re-season it. Love searching for the morels here in Ohio. Yeah, like I say, there are some in this area, but they're mostly a little bit more south than me. They're a lot more common. And down in Iowa, there's especially eastern Iowa, there's a lot of morels down there. Vinegar bath is fun to watch. Yeah, it gets fizzy and bubbly around there. Love morels. Yeah, I've been thinking one of these days, maybe if I find a good spot to put it, I might get a mushroom grow kit, where you inoculate a log or something like that, grow your own. One of these days I'll get around to it. I mean, it's not a high priority. Working on fixing that corn pan you sent me pictures of. Cool. You want to use hot water? With the vinegar bath, you can. It'll work a little bit faster, but cold water is fine. I mean, you don't need to speed it along that much, and it'll probably cool off pretty quick anyway. So just cold water is plenty good. I saw a lady grow mushrooms on rolls of toilet paper. Yeah, wood. I mean, it's wood fiber, which is what most of your edible mushrooms grow on anyway. So yeah, it definitely work if you inoculate them with the spores and keep them damp. And it'd be pretty easy to keep toilet paper damp, I should think. It holds water pretty good. Let's see here. Get me a drink. Yeah, I know there was 2 or 3 different recipes I wanted to try and get done this year with the walk, and can't remember a damn one of them. But I kind of wanted to use it at least one more time before spring. Because like the big skillets, the wok really works good on that cook stove. When you set it down in the eye, you can get that thing just screaming hot like you're supposed to. Had a guy with mushrooms in his undies. Yeah, you might need to change them a little more often, I would think. Cast Iron Hillbilly. Everybody saying hi to him. There you are. Hi, howdy. How you doing? And I'll show the pan we're giving away one more time. If you put ugly pan in a comment, you'll be entered to win this guy. That's a number 9 heat ring stylized logo Wagner skillet. The plating is pretty much gone, entirely gone in a few places. Ain't the prettiest thing, but it is a nice pan. So if you want to enter for that, go ahead, check it out. PA got a lot of old mines that they now grow mushrooms in. That's supposed to be a good environment for them. It's a steady temperature. You can keep them damp real easy out of the sun. Stop teasing them with your 9. Everybody has the same chance. In fact, while I'm thinking, I can leave that off for right now. I'll have to turn on the other monitor and get the comment picker brought up. Mom and you used to pick a lot of Bolides mushrooms. Your Ukrainian translation, they're called black and blue mushrooms. Yeah, there's a real common wild mushroom around here that a lot of people pick. There are a lot of Polish people around here, and they were big into mushrooms. Grandpa used to pick them all the time, and I kind of think that's what you're talking about. Something similar, anyway. And they taste good, but to me, they got a little bit of a metallic aftertaste. That's far from any ugly pan you've seen. Yeah. It's not an ugly hammered. I mean, that's a whole different thing. I do have a couple of them where they're kind of a thick, heavy, chunky pan, and they got a really random, shallow hammering on them, and they call them ugly hammered. And they're getting a following. I mean, people kind of like the ugly hammered ones. The chicken fryers and the Dutch ovens for ugly hammered. I mean, they usually go for $150 for a Dutch oven with a lid. The skillets are a bit cheaper. You usually find them pretty reasonable. I've seen 3s, 5s, and 8s for the ugly hammered skillets. There might be other sizes because as far as anybody knows, there's more than one manufacturer that kind of made that style, and they seem to be like a northeastern, New England, New York, and that part of the country seems to be where they came from originally, but there's not really any information on who did it. They're kind of like a northern mystery skillet as opposed to a southern mystery skillet. Didn't enter. Like to see someone who needs a pan win. Yeah, even if you win something, you can decline when it comes up, and then I'll just redraw. Can't tell one mushroom from another. Need to learn. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of interested, but I don't really have enough time and dedication to put into something I'm going to bet my life on. Pick a peck of pickled Polish peppers. Yeah, they're famous. Poles are famously big into mushrooms. Don't know why, just they are. See taters and green onions in that pan. Well, if you win it, you can make yourself some taters and green onions and all kinds of things. I have a Dutch oven fryer and a 3, 5, and 8 skillets. Yeah, I don't think I think those are the 3 sizes of skillets they made. That's at least the only ones I've ever seen. There might be other sizes, but probably not. And yeah, the Dutch oven and the chicken fryer. But like I said, the Dutch ovens, the chicken fryers with a lid, usually go around the $150 range. Skillets, I mean the eights, $75, $50, 75 in there. Kind of depends on who's looking to buy them. And the threes and fives are cheaper yet. Some of the ugly hammered number eights are different sizes, even though they both said eights. Yeah, and the handles on them are pretty distinctive. They look, especially on the number eights, they look kind of stubby compared to the rest of the pan. They look short, and they've got a kind of different shape to them. If I remember to, I'll grab them next week and show everybody what I'm talking about. Some number eight ugly lids won't fit on number eight ugly bottom. Yeah, they. I mean, I think some were recasts of recasts of recasts, kind of like Southern mystery skillets tend to be. And like I said, I've heard people think that there was more than one company that made them. How true that is, I don't really know. Wish you're allowed to have gas where you live so you could use your wok like in the Chinese restaurants. Yeah, woks you really want to run hot, and like I said, I've got the big Lodge cast iron wok, and it works great on the cook stove because you can take eye off and set it down in there, and really get some good hot fire underneath of it. Huey might have a spare number three ugly hammered. I gotta look and see. I know I have a 3, 5, and an 8, but I think I got a couple of fives. Might be threes, but pretty sure it's fives. Have a huge pile you need to restore. Yeah, I've been slowly getting caught up on a little bit of the electrolysis tank stuff I got to do. But yeah, I'm slowly wading through my backlog too. Any weed rams tonight? No, I got to work tonight. Once we're done here, I got to head on in. You have 3 1057 Wagners too, one bare and two plated. Yeah, the number 7 Wagners are kind of scarce. The smooth bottomed ones, anyway. Most of the number 7 Wagners that are marked, there's a lot of unmarked number 7s. But the smooth bottom marked Wagner ware number 7s are pretty scarce. Most of them you find with a heat ring. Pretty much all of the odd numbered smooth bottom Wagners, except for the 3s and the 5s, are fairly scarce. 7, 9, 11, 13. They're a lot less common than the rest of them. The edible mushrooms around you are pretty common and easy. You get white mushrooms, morels, and pheasant backs. I got a lot of puffballs in my yard, and apparently they're edible too while they're still white. While they're still a solid white ball before they start drying out and turning the spores inside and becoming puffballs. But I guess yeah, when they first come up, they're edible. I never actually tried them. Make a mean sauerkraut, mushroom, and onion pierogi. That sounds good. Even with the onions, I mean, sauerkraut and mushrooms go together pretty good, and pretty much anything you put in a pierogi is going to be nice. Fried cabbage, mushroom, and onion pierogies too. Yeah. I've got a recipe around here somewhere for Reuben egg rolls that I've never got around to try, but I really want to. You use corned beef and sauerkraut and a couple other things that go in it, and you roll it up in an egg roll wrapper and fry it up. They always sounded really good, but I never got around to trying it. It's unknown, therefore it's a prison made pan, which is really true. Yeah, there's a lot of them that are supposed to have been prison made that weren't. But like I said, the best I know as far as the ugly hammered ones go is they're mostly made in the Northeast. There used to be quite a big iron industry in New York State, Massachusetts a bit, and especially upstate New York, like Troy, New York, was a big center of iron work, and most of the information I've seen on Ugly Hammered seems to think that's the region, at least, where they came from. I got an interesting piece of cast iron. It's got a wood bark pattern on the outside. Apparently, it's a Japanese sukiyaki part. Had to translate and search in Japanese to find any info. Yeah, there is some pretty nice Japanese cast iron. There's a lot of Japanese iron teapots around. Different finishes, different colors. Different patterns. A lot of those are really nice. There's some different pots and pans, and then there's Levco. They're a Japanese company, and they made regular American style skillets, and those are really nice pans. And they're usually pretty inexpensive, but they're not really all that common, and they're definitely something to get a hold of if you come across them. Stir fried venison's great. Oh, you bet it is. Yeah, I'll have to do some thinking over the week and try to remember what the hell it is. Like I said, there's two or three different recipes I really wanted to try in the walk, and I should have written them down. And I'm sure the same thing will happen next summer. Oh yeah, hey, I'll make that come winter once it's time to fire up the wood stove, and I'll have long since forgotten them. As long as you don't force Beegs to wear those shoes. Anyone who makes it out your way will get some fresh made pierogi. You make them from scratch. You get that yard slime fungus that stinks. Well, probably best not to eat it then. Competition getting rough. Names you've never seen. Well, there's always quite a few people who lurk and watch and don't really leave comments, even if they are regulars. Mom used to make sukiyaki. She was in occupied Japan with your dad. Uh, Huey found a Japanese skillet, and Hobby's Hobo found one also. Yeah, I've got a Levco, and it's really nice skillet. It's kind of an amalgamation. It's got a handle style on it that a lot of Canadian skillets used, and the rest of it looks kind of like a couple of different styles from American skillets. You see that sometimes on Korean made skillets where they'll have a 3-notch heat ring on them like a Lodge. Then they'll have the typewriter script like an unmarked Wagner, all kind of combined into the same thing. But yeah, I really like that Levco skillet. It's really nice and light and smooth. And if you come across one, I'd definitely recommend buying it. Back in the day, a regular person could buy a skillet mold and make your own. I'm thinking them are the initial skillets. It could be, you know, it's as good as explanation for some of them as any. But they do look a little more commercial than a really homemade one. So I kind of think they were, made by, a particular company, and they used somebody else's skillet for a pattern for them. I made a short on your YouTube channel the other day. It's pretty. I'll go check that out. Everybody go see what Huey has made. I wish you knew the brand of your iron skillet. You can't see any marks. Well, maybe once you get it cleaned up, you might be able to tell a little more. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have a necessarily a brand name on it. Uh, Birmingham Stove and Range, most of your older Lodge. Whoops, knocked my back scratcher down. Most of the older Lodge didn't say Lodge on them. The Birmingham Stove and Range just had a size number or a few other things on them. And there's a lot of them that are just plain unknown too. I mean, nobody really knows who made them. So it's not, it's not uncommon for them to be unmarked. But maybe once you get it cleaned off, you might find something. And if you do find any marks on it, if you tell people here, you might have a pretty good chance of figuring out what it is because, a lot of us would recognize just by, a number 6 up on the opposite side of the handle or something down by the handle. You definitely have a chance of figuring out if there's anything on it at all. I mean, some things just aren't marked, period. You get puffballs as well, absolute delicacy. Yeah, I never seem to quite notice them early enough, too. I mean, usually they're either starting to turn into puffballs or they already have, but I get some really big ones out there. And like I say, one of these days I might get around to trying them out. The egg rolls sound great. Yeah, like I said, I've been meaning to try them for a couple of years. I just never got around to making them. Little iron skillet from Taiwan cooks great sunny side eggs. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of Taiwanese pans that I just love. I mean, it's got a lower side on it, and a little rough on the outside, but they're usually nice and smooth inside. And yeah, Taiwan and Korea, usually you find them pretty good. They're pretty good iron. Talking about prison pans, 6970, you worked in a foundry and you were the only person on the pouring line that wasn't an ex-con. Yeah, I mean, I've worked construction most of my life, and there's been a few times I was the only person on the crew that could legally own a firearm. I just found a Levco ware. Seems very well made. Found it in British Columbia. Yeah, like I said, I mean, parts of them, there's a few different styles of the Levco ware. Parts of it seem to be modeled after Canadian skillets, especially the handle. Parts of it seem to be American, and they just put them together and made what they wanted. I think somebody mentioned up here Ozark, Crescent Ozark, number 7. Any info on that? I think they were out of St. Louis, if I remember right. The old Crescent Ozark, not to be confused with the Crescent waffle irons, which I think were made in Pennsylvania. I think, but yeah, I think the Crescent Ozark foundry was in St. Louis, if I remember right. Ugly pan, okay, got another ugly pan. Show us that tank pan in the video. Yeah, I've got a tank pan. They're kind of neat. They're made in Taiwan. They got a little tank logo on them. And I have a cow pan too. It's a Taiwanese pan. It has a little cow's head on it. You will when it's done. It's a lie. You have another 3 and 8. I think the tank pan I have is a 5. I think either a 5 or an 8. But anyhow, we're getting close to the end of the show, so let me get the comment picker fired up here. Turn down there. Catch up on the last of the comments. So if you haven't already commented with Ugly Pan, go ahead and get that stuck in. Make sure you got your entry in. Heard they imported a lot into Canada from Japan. Yeah, I've seen them on the Canadian Facebook page, Cast Iron, Canadian Cast Iron Research. And I've seen a few people posting them on there, so yeah, that could definitely be true. All right, let me get some of my things brought up here. Where is my comment picker and my bookmarks? Giveaway tool, there we are. Whoops, no. Almost screwed that up. There we go. Would have kicked myself out of the stream if I'd have done that. There we go. Get that brought up, and we will bring that down here. Choose a live stream. Got that. Okay. Ugly Pan. All right. Let's share the screen here. Giveaway tool. All right. Start collecting comments. Give that a couple few seconds. Entry's 13. There should be more than that, I would think. I'll give her a second here. Although it does, it'll only count it once. We'll give her just another few seconds here and see what happens. If you put Ugly Pan in a dozen times, it's only going to count the one time you did. At 14. We'll give her a couple of more seconds. 16. She's still going up. Last chance. We're going to do the draw here in just a second. There we go. And we're drawing. We'll see. John done won. So send me a shipping address to the mudbrooker@yahoo.com and I'll get that sent out right away. Would have thought 30 or so. Yeah, like I said, it'll just count it once. If you put in more than one time with Ugly Pan. And it should work. I mean, as far as I know, it does. It seems like it does do an actual good count on it. But congratulations, John. Go ahead and, like I said, send a email to the mudbrooker@yahoo.com, and I'll get this here sent out to you as soon as I can. Like I said, ain't the prettiest pan in the world, but it's going to work good. It's a nice size. It's a nice old pan. You'll have fun with it. And we'll take this down. Done with that. Come on now. Stop sharing. There we are. We'll round this up and call it a night here pretty soon. Okay, let's see. Congratulations. I missed any other questions here that really need to be answered quick. Can the buildup be maybe kind of protective if you never clean it on the outside? A little bit. I mean, if it sits for a while, the buildup does tend to trap moisture. But if you've been using it, it shouldn't be a problem. buildup on the outside on the sides usually isn't too much of a problem, but when you start getting buildup on the bottom, it acts like insulation, and it'll keep the pan from heating up evenly, and it'll heat up slower. But yeah, you're not going to hurt it with by stripping it with oven cleaner. That's not going to cause you any problems. You're not going to dissolve the iron because the oven cleaner doesn't affect the iron. So yeah, go ahead and strip her down and see what you got. And if you have any questions on what it might be, go ahead and ask, and we'll see if we can figure it out once you got her cleaned up. But anyhow, be back next week, and should be able to figure out something to do with the cook stove and the wok before then. Where's the kitty? She's up hiding up there in her little perch. She poked her head out a couple of times during the show, but she's pretty much relaxing for right now. Let's see. Anyhow, yeah. So, John, go ahead and email me with the shipping address, and we'll get her taken care of. And we'll see you guys next week. And hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you then. Bye.